This video is the normal distribution, part 5. This is going to be a short video. We just wanted to go through this last example on the PowerPoint example 9, pregnancy percentiles. So recall that the average length of pregnancy is 272 days and the standard deviation is 9 days. We want to find the 65th percentile of pregnancies. So let's draw out our normal curve. 272 goes in the center because that's the mean. The standard deviation is 9 days. We want to find the 65th percentile. The 65th percentile is going to separate the lower 65% from the upper 35%. So this area here is 0.65. That's what a percentile does. It separates, it's a boundary that separates that lower P percentile from the upper Q. This is what we're looking for right there, is that boundary. So to go backwards and find a boundary, we use Inv Norm. You have to put in the area to the left, which is 0.65, followed by the mean, which is 272, and the standard deviation, which is 9. So, second vars, number 3, we're going to put in the area, which is 0.65, which is the same as the percentile we're looking for, the 65th percentile, so the area is 0.65. The mean is 272, and the standard deviation is 9. So we get 275.46788843 days. Let's round to 2 decimal places, so 275.47. So the 65th percentile that separates the lower 65% from the upper 35% is 275.47 days. Alright, so let's look at the next one. Find the boundary for the upper 25%. So 272 still in the middle. The upper 25%. So what we're saying here is this upper 25%, that's 0.25. Now, the upper 25% is separated from the lower 75%. How did I get that? So remember, the whole thing has to add up to be 100%. So if we are finding the boundary for the upper 25%, that boundary separates that upper 25% from the lower 75. So 25 and 75 is the entire 100%. So we're looking for this number right here. Now we can use Inv Norm, but remember you have to put in the area to the left. So we wouldn't put in 0.25 because that's the area to the right of the boundary we're looking for. The area to the left is Q, which is 0.75, followed by your 272 and your 9. So with the calculator, we would do second vars, number 3. Make sure you put in the area to the left, which is 0.75. The mean is 272. The standard deviation is 9. And we get 278.07 days. Okay, so 278.07 days is the boundary for the upper 25%. So 25% of pregnancies last longer than 278.07 days, and 75% of pregnancies last less than 278.07 days. All right, so let's look at this last one. Find the boundaries for the middle 80%. So this one I want to draw out on a bigger screen. This was 272. Standard deviation is 9. We want to find the two boundaries that bound this middle. And the middle is 80%. We want to find these two boundaries. So we have a lower boundary and we have an upper boundary. So actually what's going to happen is we're going to do this problem twice. twice because you're looking for two different boundaries. So we can, since you're looking for a boundary, we can use Inv Norm, but we need the area to the left of each of the numbers we're looking for. So for this lower boundary, I need the boundary to the left of that middle 80%. Okay, so let's see if we can fill in the rest of this curve with the correct percentages. So if I know the whole thing is 100%, all right, and I take 80 is in the center, what's left? Well, these two sides here and here have to make up 20% of the data between here and here, because 80 plus 20% is 100%. Now that 20% is divvied up into two sections, so the two sections together make 20%. They're not 20% each, because if they were, then this whole thing would be 80, 20, 20 would be 120%. We want just 100%. So how much should each section be if the two sections together make 20? Remember, this whole thing is symmetrical, so that means it would be half of that. So 10% here and 10% here. So for the lower boundary, we're going to do Inv Norm. We're going to put in the area to the left of the lower boundary, which is 10%. Now, we wouldn't put it in as a percent, we'd put it in as a decimal. So 10% as a decimal is 0.10. If you're unsure what that would be, just divide the percent by 100 and that will give you the correct decimal. So the area to the left is 0.10, the mean is 272, and the standard deviation is 9. Alright, and we'll get the calculator in a moment and we'll do that and figure out how many days that is. The upper boundary, so for this one, I need this entire area from the upper boundary all the way over here. So the entire thing from here to the left. And there's a couple ways to figure that out. One way is to add this 80% here, and this whole thing would be 90%, because the area here is 80 and the area here is 10. So together, the area to the left of this upper boundary is 90%. So we would do Inv Norm 0.90. 272.9. The other way to look at it is, if I know that the area up here is 10%, then you could use the complement and the fact that the entire thing is 100%. 100 minus 10% is 90% that way as well. But at any rate, it's the upper boundary is Inv Norm 0.90, 272.9. So let's use the calculator. Okay, so let's do the left boundary, second vars number 3. We want to put in 10% or 0.10, 272.9, and we get 260.466, which is 260.47. And for the upper boundary, we would do second vars number 3, 90% or 0.90, 272.9. And we would get 283.53. So 283.53 days. So the boundaries for the middle 80% of pregnancy lengths is between 260.47 and 283.53. So those are the numbers that bound that middle 80%. The middle 80% are between those two numbers. Okay, so that is all for normal distribution. If you have questions, as always, let me know.